Okay, so, but besides the fact that I was raised, educated, and pretty much had my entire professional life in the US, I also think when speaking to fellow entrepreneurs, I hope that you're thinking global and not just local. And the language that you need to be thinking in my opinion, is in English. So we can do the Q&A in Hebrew if you want, but I'd like to tell you my personal story in English. So first of all, I want to, before I start, actually address something that Professor Mel was asked, which is, when are you the most creative? When are you the most innovative? And I actually think the answer to that question is when you're listening. Not when you're necessarily doing something or brainstorming some brilliant idea, but rather you are actually listening to who might be your potential customer. Because believe it or not, they'll actually tell you. I studied marketing in the university in the US, and 4 years basically boiled down to one class, one sentence of wisdom that I'll share with you today. And then I'll talk about failure. But just I wanted to segue from something that the professor said. Marketing, and this is something, and let's be honest, that we are weak at in Israel, boils down to simply identifying trends and then being there to support it. It's not to invent something and persuade everybody to go somewhere. Literally, the example that I was given on my first day at university by a very famous marketing professor was, he told me a story of a guy who stood at the edge of a highway. So, Kvish 2, okay? A highway, all the cars are moving in one direction, and you see a guy standing at the edge of the highway going, over here, this way, everybody, come on. And people on the outside look at that person and say, wow, how powerful. That guy's waving this way, and all the cars are... He just showed up to the highway, identified a stream, a trend, and was there to facilitate it, okay? Every idea I've ever had was actually like interacting with somebody or having something happen to me as a customer of needing something, and then I said, wow, I would like it to solve an existing problem that I have, and here's a way to potentially solve it. But what I'm here to talk to you today about is actually what I consider to be my secret weapon and yours. You just might not know it yet. And that is something that we have all done, hopefully you've all done, which is tried and failed at something. It's not something normally people talk about, especially entrepreneurs who get on stage. They like to talk about all the good things that they've done, all the success that they've had, and kind of show off. I actually want to talk about all the failures that I've had throughout my entire career, literally starting from academia. Okay, so I want to start there, and I want to tell you 3 stories of failure and how they've actually impacted me and what I do today. So, academically, I was born to 2 brainiacs. A rocket scientist's father, and I mean literally a rocket scientist. You know the sentence, it doesn't take a rocket scientist? He was a rocket scientist. He did a lot of things that I can't talk about in Israel, but he was sent to the US to work at NASA to lead a major nuclear project there, nuclear engineering project. He was a chemistry PhD, math PhD, etc. My mother, an oncologist, cancer researcher for 30 years. Very academically inclined people. My uncle, my grandfather, my grandfather's brothers, all engineers, all excelling in academia. And of course, I was pushed into the engineering route. Okay? I spent 1 year as an engineer in the university, my first year in engineering. You know what happened? I failed. Not like A's and B's and C's. F. Literally 0%. I failed out of the course entirely. I was so not suited to be an engineer. I hated it at my core so much that I literally failed out of it. Now, it was the best thing that happened to me professionally because I'm just not an engineer. Okay? I discovered what I wanted to become by being kicked out of what I was supposed to become. I failed completely at it, and that led me down a different path, a pivot, if you will, of my life, which sent me down the path of marketing, psychology, business management, etc. And eventually into what I'm passionate about, which is the internet. That discovery happened with my second failure. My second failure happened right after I finished 4 years at business administration, marketing, all this good stuff. I got one of the top jobs in the #2 PR firm in the world, in Manhattan, top floor, you know where the ball drops in Times Square? Literally in Times Square, top floor, suit and tie, everybody's like professional. Like, have you seen Mad Men? You guys watch Mad Men? I'm talking like, exactly, right? And 4 months into the job, what happens? I just failed. I got fired. That's my second F. I got literally like kicked out by a security guard out of the building. It happens, yeah. In the States, it's like they don't let you stick around and, hey, talk with your friends. It's like, exactly. They don't want you burning like computers and CDs and stealing stuff. But 4 months into it, and at a PR firm, just very quickly so you guys know, when you come in as an entry-level PR person in a big firm, you do what's called clippings. Clippings is where you take the newspaper, you open it up, and you clip out stories about your clients for the first hour, 9 to 10, every single day, called clippings. It started like hundreds of years ago. They still do it today. Okay? I was a brash Israeli 24-year-old in 1995 when I got this job. And in the university, prior to having this job, it was 95. So if any of you old enough to remember, it was like pretty much like the beginning of the web. A lot of excitement around HTML, HTML 1.0, and websites and so forth. And I taught myself on the side in university how to like build websites, very basic HTML type stuff. Okay, and so I knew a little bit about it. And when I was told to do the clippings, I said, okay, I'm lazy. One of the things you saw on stage. I don't want to sit there and do clippings. And at the time, for you old enough, people who are old enough, you'll remember there were search engines that just began, such as Alta Vista, Lycos, Magellan, Excite. Google wasn't around yet. Okay, so you know how old I am. And I created a very simple page with input fields for each one of the search engines. It was like iframe crap. It was totally bad. And I would show up in the morning. I would put my client's name, hit search, 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 get all the results in each one of them, put a little print button to send it to the printer. Went print, 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 print. Printed it out, stapled, put my feet on the desk. And said, how awesome am I? How brilliant am I? I'm this so ahead of my time, blah, 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 blah. And I literally brought over, I remember the first day I brought it over, so proud, a stack of clippings over to my boss's desk, VP of something or other. And she said, go back to your desk and do the clippings. We've been doing it this way for 100 years. You will do it this way also. Very nice, I'll take a look at this later. Go back and do your clippings. And I was like, oh. My reaction was inappropriate. And I got fired. And I was told, the quote, I'll never forget this because it's the best quote I've ever received. The biggest compliment I have received to date was when I got fired by that VP. She said, you are too creative for this place. And I said, I'm too creative for this place. That's a good thing, right? And so, I remember this day perfectly. You get kicked out, you get fired, where a security guard takes you out, and you're literally in the street. You've got a little like box of your stuff. And I had like a suit and tie, you know. I just moved to New York. I was in Maryland. And I'm standing there, and there's a scene from Trading Places, Eddie Murphy, where he gets like kicked out of something, and he gets like, okay, should I start walking this way? No, I have nowhere to go that way. Should I start walking this way? I don't have anywhere to go. What's it called?
Where is the luck?
Where's the luck?
Yeah, where is the luck? Left or right?
Right, exactly. I had no idea. I had no plan. 24-year-old, New York. I just had an apartment, like rent to pay, no job. And this, and I hope some of you resonate with this reaction. But all of a sudden, I went from this kind of curve of, oh shit, what am I going to do, to, oh wow, what am I going to do? How exciting. The opportunity now to do something new. The opportunity to maybe do something I really want to do. And while sitting in the street, I remember saying, okay, what do I love? And I remember thinking back to university when I was building those web pages, and I was like, I love that. I don't really know what that is, that web internet thing, but I love that. I want to go work for like an internet company. And so I literally walked with a box in my hand to like a newsstand, and I got a newspaper that had classifieds for jobs, and I just looked for the word internet or web or anything. It didn't even say that. It said online marketing manager for a little company called Foreman Interactive in Brooklyn, which later became Register.com. You guys are familiar with the company? I, as a 24-year-old, ran all of marketing for Register.com. Employee number 4, working out of Brooklyn, 0 salary, some nice equity. We became Register.com. This is a company that went public, was the number 2 registrar in the world. It's Network Solutions, Register.com, now there's GoDaddy. I ran marketing. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. No one really knew what the internet was, but I was absolutely in the epicenter of my passion. And I landed there from my second failure. Okay? Total dumb luck. I was sent there by failing first. Third failure. And this one is like, most of you are not going to say it's a failure. Okay? I was just introduced as being the founder and CEO of BillGuard, the number 2 startup. By the way, so technically it's TechCrunch Disrupt is this annual conference in the States where they pick the top new startup of the year for 2011. And BillGuard won number 2. But let me tell you what happened. It's a 3-day conference. How many of you saw it? Maybe you actually watched it. Okay. All right. So on Monday, we launched the product. I go on stage, I do a presentation, and all the feedback from everybody, including the people at TechCrunch, was like, wow, this thing is going to win. They're like the number 1 company here. They kicked everybody's butt. They're going to win on Wednesday. And Wednesday is like the finals. And so we spend Monday to Wednesday going, oh my God, we might win this thing. We showed up. BillGuard is a personal finance security company, fintech security, which is very non-standard for TechCrunch. And all of a sudden, we went from this underdog Israeli company in Herzliya Pituach. By the way, I made Aliyah a year and a half ago. Okay, to being the favorite to win TechCrunch Disrupt, a position that I wasn't actually comfortable with. I don't like being the top. There's only one way to go when you're at the top, right? If you're number 2, you actually have one more spot to go. You have a direction to go, which is up. So at any rate, going into the third Wednesday in the last round, and this is feedback I got, and for those of you who saw it, tell me. I went up on stage and kind of did Q&A with all these major investors as if I was number 1. I was a little bit over-arrogant. I was kind of complacent in the way I answered the Q&A. I wasn't listening. I wasn't the hustling underdog, okay? Many people told me it was like not very much like me, and that's why we lost, okay? Now, we came in second place in this competition. I can tell you that what happened when I came back to Israel to the office, and we have 12 people in the office. I have an office full of entrepreneurs. We have hired some of the most amazing people. Average age is about 25, 26. And I thought I'm going to have to give this pep talk and bring everybody's morale up. Like, okay, listen, guys, we could have won number 1. We came number 2. It's okay. I came back, and every single one of them had the same reaction I did, which was coming in second place was actually the best, absolute best thing that could happen to an entrepreneur. You now have a chip on your shoulder. You know what a chip on your shoulder means? How do you say chip on your shoulder in Hebrew? A chip on your shoulder. You have this extra, like, you know what? We're going to show the world. Yafeh. Exactly. If you're number 1, you're like, oh, okay, everyone thinks I'm so great, blah, blah, blah. It goes to your head. You get a little ego. Wow. It's so wonderful. If you're number 2, if a VC tells you no, and I'm sure lots of you have been told no many times. If a girl turns you down or a guy turns you down, if that employee that you really wanted to hire says, I'm not interested, I'm taking another job. If that partner, that customer that you so badly needed to start was like, yeah, your product just sucks, or we don't want it, or we're not paying for it, or whatever it might be. Those are all opportunities for you to listen, learn, and come back with even more motivation. That's what makes you an entrepreneur, and I hope that you actually see yourself this way. That's what makes you an entrepreneur, and normal people outside this room, normal people. Normal people go, okay, I've been told 50 times this idea is not going to work. I'm not going to try it. And as the professor said, 95%. In the web, it's 99% of startups fail. Why the heck would I do that? Why would I even try it? 1% chance of succeeding? Why would I leave my job at Amdocs? Converse. You get the idea. The answer is you can't help it. It's who you are. And hopefully you're being true to who you are and you follow your passion to do so. The only key piece of advice I want you to remember from me is that when you fail, see it as an opportunity. Realize that it's something that can maybe set you in a slightly more accurate pivot to get to where you really want to go. You're listening, you're learning, you're accepting failure as an opportunity to go farther. If you just succeed and everything comes easy, something is a little bit wrong. It doesn't work that way in business. It just doesn't. I've never been involved with anything that was just like, oh, that's perfect, 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 perfect. You hit the wall, and because of who you are, hopefully you listen, and second of all, you charge even harder. And I can tell you that today BillGuard is a better company because we came in second place. It's not a failure. We're the second, considered the second best new startup of the year, which by the way is total bullshit. It is. It's a competition. Okay? The real competition is what do you do? Do you build a big, important company or not? That's where the real arena is. But to go into that arena with the ammunition of the chip on your shoulder, how do you say it again? Netel hochacha. To say, you know what? We're going to prove to all those VCs who turned us down, to all those judges at that competition who said we're number 2. We're not number 2. We're number 1, and we're going to show everybody. You fuel up on that, you're unstoppable. You literally are unstoppable because you dictate your own destiny. Now, it might take you, how many times did the professor? 100 times? But if that's where you want to go, you get there. Last thing I want to tell you. We have a culture here of get to the exit. The exit. Chase the exit, this holy grail trophy. The exit. Think of the word for a moment. What is an exit? It's the same. It's yeah. Done. Over. Finished. You've exited. You've left the building. The talk is over. I've exited. Okay? That's not the goal. Shouldn't be the goal. You're on the wrong business if that's just the goal. If you're just trying to get rich, have a big exit, etc., there's plenty of other safer, statistically easier way of making money. Okay? This is about being passionate about the process of trying to get there. Trying to get to a direction of building something on your own, no boss, nobody telling you what to do, just going for it. And I really, really, really hope you identify yourselves in that way. You keep going when you're told no, when you have failures, you realize them as opportunities. And lastly, you don't focus there. Focus where you are right now and enjoy it. This is what you want to do. You've decided to be an entrepreneur and not go, have somebody else tell you what to do from 9 to 5. So enjoy it. Don't be so anxious about the fact that you're not there yet. You're actually living on this planet for whatever 80 some years of your life. You have so many hours in a day. You've decided to do it your way and try. And that's awesome. That's what kind of makes us all entrepreneurs. So do that. Don't stop. Enjoy and actually look for the opportunity to fail. If you are not failing, you are not pushing hard enough. You are not being innovative. You're not actually doing anything of interest. You're also not learning. That's exactly right. I recently had a quote that came to my mind, like, if somebody didn't tell you at some point it's impossible, it's never going to be great. It just won't. Look for those opportunities for people to tell you no and say, okay, I'm onto something. Let's go. Keep going. Change the idea. Keep moving around, and go there. I wish you all the best of luck. If you are a founder of a startup and you're going for it and you're trying, we have a founders club called TechAviv. It is an organization started 4 years ago. We have branches in Israel, Silicon Valley, Boston, and New York. It is free entirely. It's a nonprofit. We're supported by a bunch of sponsors who help us meet once a month. We meet at the IDC here in Israel. If you want to apply to be a member, you can go to il.techaviv.com. And the whole goal of our group is to do what you guys are doing here. Meet each other, learn from each other, be inspired by each other, help each other out. Our collective knowledge and our collective contacts are incredibly powerful. We have 2,000 members today. It's hard to get in, I'll tell you that. You have to actually be a founder of an active startup and prove that. You can't just say, oh, I have an idea, all right? We have to keep it a little bit limited because we have very limited space and we have 200 members come to every event. But I highly recommend you try it out. You get a lot more inspiration from fellow people who are just trying and failing a lot and still doing it and loving what they do. So good luck to everybody, and thank you for your time and listening to me. Thanks.